What's up out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse and I am back for another Golden Age video. And this time we're going to be reviewing someone who did not go to Marvel or DC, but is in fact a Golden Age hero. This one I thought was pretty interesting. So let's take us back to the Golden Age and get started with this hero. We will be covering the hero Catman. And no, not the Adam West voiced Catman from the Fairly Odd Parents. I don't even know what age that would come under. And no, I'm not talking about the Catman from DC who appeared in 1963. That's the Silver Age. And I'm also not talking about the Catman from Timely Comics that would later become Marvel. That is Golden Age, but not the one that we're reviewing. We're reviewing the Catman that came out in 1940. This fella right here. Catman, David Merriweather, first appeared in Crash Comics Adventure number 4 in September 1940. He was published by Whole Yoke Publishing. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Now, the artist was Aaron Hansen, but the writer is actually unknown. All we know is who did the artist work. Now, the abilities of the original Catman was super strength, agility, night vision, and 9 lives. David Merriweather, who would be Catman, was raised in Bermuda by a tigress. His parents had been killed, so he lived with the tigers for a number of years. And this is what I love about Golden Age origins. You wouldn't see something like this today. Living with the tigers granted him the abilities I just mentioned. Super strength, the agility, night vision, and 9 lives. God only knows how that happened. Eventually, David would return to the U.S., where he was born. When he first got into the States, he was horrified by the fact that innocent people were being terrorized by criminals. So he first became a private investigator and then later would become an officer in the U.S. military. In 1941, Crash Comics would officially change its name to Catman Comics. In Catman Comics Volume 1, issue number 5 is when we would encounter his soon-to-be sidekick, Kitten. And Catman would encounter Katie Kahn. She had a pretty shady uncle that he had her stealing for him. Catman brought the uncle to justice, and with Katie Kahn having no guardian, David Merriweather, Catman, would adopt her. She made a suit to try and help him fight crime at first, which he discouraged. She proved that she could be an asset in his fight against crime, so they teamed up and became known as Catman and Kitten. As the series would progress, Katie would mature and David would be promoted to the rank of captain. The Catman comics ran for 33 issues, but was only numbered 32 to some numbering inconsistencies. In 1946, the publishing company that made the Catman comics would fold, and Catman would fall into the public domain. When World War II broke out, due to shipping embargoes, shipping stuff at the time, Australia wasn't able to get the version of Catman we had in the States, so they came up with their own version of Catman. In this version, he had no secret identity or powers, but he was a superb fighter, brilliant investigator. He had a pair of night vision goggles, a Luger pistol, and a light that would shine out of a utility belt that could blind foes. He would primarily be stationed in Australia, even though he would help fight crime all over the world. His sidekick was a male named Kit. He was engaged, and he was employed by the United Nations. The Australian Catman would not last very long. He only spanned for 12 issues, and in the 1950s they would reprint the issues that they had, and the character would also appear in the Giant Phantom comic series. In the 1980s, AC would bring Catman back, but retconned him a little bit. In this iteration, Katie would be around the same age as Catman. The explanation for this, and this is why I love the 80s origins, is Katie was mortally wounded and Catman gave her one of his 9 lives. Not only did this heal her, but it also aged her into adulthood. Later, they would become married, and this was all taking place in the 1940s. They would go into the Vault of Superheroes, which is a suspended animation program, and only be revived in the future when the government would need them then. They would be revived in the 1980s, where they teamed up with Miss Victory and members of the Femme Force. Unfortunately, their nemesis, Dr. Macabre, was also revived because he went through a similar treatment. AC Comics would print the modern stories of Catman, but also would reprint some of the ones from the Golden Age so as not to mess with continuity. The comic book had more of a female-oriented nature, so some of the comics, when they would come out, would be as Kitten and Catman instead of the other way around. Dynamite Entertainment would take its hand in doing Catman stories in 2008. In this, though, Catman became more feral and became Man-Cat and started to emulating the feral beast that he was named after. Kitten would become part of a team of sidekicks. Near the end of this run, Catman would become pivotal to the series, and by the end of the run, Catman had regained enough of his senses for Kitten to know that the man she knew and loved was still inside the beast somewhere. Wow, adopting your sidekicks or having them as your ward must have been a big thing in the Golden Age. I can't imagine having something like that now. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this video on the original Catman. I sure had a lot of fun researching it. This was definitely a different one for me. If you did like this video, go ahead and give that like button a click. If you like what I do here, you want to see more of my Golden Age videos in my top 10 list, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You'll be updated to my newest videos, and you wouldn't have to search too hard for my old videos. Well, hopefully I can do more heroes like this that didn't end up in Marvel or DC. He didn't end up in either. That was an interesting one as well. Well, I should be coming out with a new Golden Age video soon, so until next time, I'll see you.